Today, I want to talk about 5 things that don't matter that much at all for fat loss, aka majoring in the minors. And in this talk, I'm going to take to task 5 of many things that I hear and you've heard and we all hear that we're led to believe are these massive dial movers for fat loss. And we kind of zero in on these simple little platitudes, and they're actually not that impactful at all. There are way more impactful things to do. So I believe in making impact with fat loss, getting you some quick wins, getting you some sustainable wins. But the steps we need to take to actually sustainably lose weight, they're not flashy, they're not sexy, they're not amazing. And sometimes we think that a simple platitude is all we need. If I just did this one tiny thing, this must be the thing holding me back. And that's why I want to give you this talk today, because I don't think that's true. Okay, the first one is sugar. So I don't think sugar, used as a blanket term, is holding most people back from weight loss, at least not the people that I'm working with, because the people I'm working with aren't, to my knowledge, binging on candy. Which leads me to the question, when people blame sugar, what do they mean? Do they mean dietary sugar like candy and milk chocolate and things of that nature, desserts? In which case, I don't think you need to be a nutrition expert to realize that we shouldn't be having a ton of that stuff. It's literally called a treat for a reason. So if that's what we're talking about, it's sort of like, well, duh. Obviously, we're not going to spend our day eating tons and tons of sugary treats. But I actually don't think that's what people mean when they say sugar. I think when people say sugar is the root of their problem, they're talking about the teaspoon of sugar in their coffee in the morning and the 0.5 grams of sugar in the serving of ketchup on the eggs. And I just can't get worked up about either of those things. I sincerely hope we're all metabolically healthy enough to utilize a teaspoon of sugar in our coffee. Like, our bodies can handle sugar. Sugar is not a devil. Sugar is one of our body's fuels. We have 3 body fuels: fat, sugar, and ketones. So despising sugar is just random to me. And as a nutritionist, I don't even know what people mean when they say it, because we could really blow the lid off the definition of this. Are starches sugars? Are anything in the family of carbohydrate, is that what we're counting as a sugar? Are we saying a low carb diet when we say low sugar? And then, like, from a practical perspective, it goes back to the anecdote I shared earlier, which is if we're putting a little blob of ketchup on our eggs or a smear of barbecue sauce on the ribs, we're getting a ton of protein with just a little flavor enhancing sauce. I am not going to get mad about people eating protein foods with a dollop of sugary barbecue sauce or ketchup nearby. Again, majoring in the minors. Story time. I went to a keto conference and I went for lunch with some keto celebrities. And we were at this barbecue restaurant. And because I was at this table of kind of well-known keto people, a lot of people in the restaurant wanted to come over and talk to these guys because everybody at this barbecue joint was there for the keto conference, obviously. And a guy said to one of the people I was sitting with, he said, "Hey, just so you all know, there's sugar in the barbecue sauce here." And like, we just ordered 5 pounds of brisket and 8 pounds of pulled pork and, 6 pounds of chicken. Like, we're going to have a little barbecue sauce. We're going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the sugar in your ketchup, the sugar in your coffee, the little bits of sugar that are added to sauces to make things good. Even the sugar in fruit, the carbohydrate in vegetables or starchy tubers. This is not what's holding people back from weight loss. Now, if we're talking about eating a ton of candy, if that's what we mean by sugar, then yeah, don't do that. But you didn't need a nutritionist to tell you that. We already know that's not a good health behavior. So sugar is not a hill I will die on. Sugar is one of 5 things that don't matter that much for fat loss. Sugar is a fuel. If your body's not good at using fuel, that right there, that's a root cause, baby. Body that's not good at using fuel might be holding on to some body fat. So let's get your body just generally better at using fuel, but sugar is one of those fuels. So we're not going to come down on sugar. We like sugar. It's fine. Second thing that doesn't matter that much for fat loss is your water consumption. I can't even tell you how many times women get on the phone with me and they say, "I've been really struggling with my weight. I've tried drinking more water. It doesn't seem to help." And it's like, why would that help? Why on earth would that help? Now, hydration is very good and important, but here's the deal. You are probably hydrated just fine. If you're not very thirsty, then you're hydrated. Your body cues up a need for hydration by giving you a thirst signal in your mouth, that dry mouth feel. So if you don't feel thirsty, then you can trust that you're hydrated. We don't have to sip on water all day long. You certainly can if you want to. I don't know why you would want to, There's no tremendous benefit to being overly hydrated. And by the way, just for whatever it's worth, drinking a ton of water isn't necessarily hydrating you, because the water has to go into the cells and tissues and needs electrolytes to do that. So if you don't have enough electrolytes on board, then you're going to pee that water out in the toilet. Then you're going to look in the toilet and see that your urine is clear, and you're going to say, look at me, I'm so hydrated. And it's like, no, you just peed that out. You're taking in more water than your body can use. It's just dispensing it into the toilet. So clear urine, drinking water all day, this all being some kind of virtuous health move, it's like, you can do it if you want. There's hardly any harm, but it's not going to help you lose weight. That has nothing to do with weight loss at all. Maybe you're thinking, but sometimes when I feel hungry, I might actually be thirsty, they say. That doesn't make any sense. Why on earth would your body accidentally confuse a hunger signal with a thirst signal? Do you know how extinct we'd be if we couldn't discern hunger from thirst? You need water. You need to be hydrated. You don't need to necessarily eat. So we have to have very clear, specific thirst and hunger signals. Another reason why water got the nod as a weight loss tool is literally from The Biggest Loser, where trainer Bob and Jillian would tell the contestants to drink water when they feel hungry, just encouraging them to starve and ignore their hunger signals by drinking water or chewing gum. Let's not forget chewing gum. There was a chewing gum sponsor for Biggest Loser, and that was one of their pieces of advice was, if you feel hungry, chew gum, because it will trick your body into thinking that you're eating. Human bodies are not that stupid. It might momentarily take the edge off. The act of chewing might send an instant signal down to the body like, okay, food's coming. You can turn off that hunger signal. But as soon as you didn't receive nourishment, your body's going to kick up hunger again. But drinking water to stave off hunger is messed up. When you're hungry, eat food. When we're not hungry, we're not going to drown our hunger signal with water. And hunger and thirst are two different things. And drinking more water has nothing at all to do with weight loss, like at all. So the second thing that doesn't matter that much for fat loss is drinking more water. Third thing that doesn't matter that much for fat loss, reaching for arbitrary protein numbers, either per meal or per day. Protein is a really cool fat loss helper for reasons that I share often, but mainly it comes down to the powerful satiety factors of protein, the fact that protein is highly nourishing. So when your body kicks up a hunger signal, it really wants the stuff that's inside protein food, that's amino acids and some of the micronutrition, minerals and whatnot. And protein delivers the satiety signal that really tamps down the rest of your eating for the rest of the day. And that's how we get weight loss from high protein diets, but also high protein diets, they encourage preservation of lean body mass, which is muscle and bone. Muscle is very metabolically active and helpful that way. So protein's great, but there is no arbitrary number of grams of protein you must consume. So if the yogurt bowl has 40 grams of protein in it because you used yogurt and protein granola and maybe a blob of nut butter, and I don't know what else you put in there, a scoop of protein powder, and you're like, this little dessert I just made has 41 grams of protein, that doesn't really necessarily mean anything. The grams of protein in there don't mean anything. Does it deliver a pertinent satiety signal? Does it give you a durability of satiety? Eating protein, you already know you need to do it. I mean, come on. You, as a woman, need to eat more protein because you're barely eating any. And women barely eat any. They will have a collagen coffee for breakfast. They'll have 4 ounces of chicken on their salad at lunch. And then they'll have a nice plate of food with the family at dinner, but like that's barely any protein at all. So eating more is great, but you don't have to count it. The math doesn't matter. So arbitrary protein targets don't matter that much for fat loss at all. For example, you can make a nice big stack of protein pancakes and that might have 20 grams of protein in it, but it's not like a proper protein signal. It's pancakes. It's a very strange signal to send your body to be eating your protein with pancakes or muffins or sandwich bread or granola. It's like, just eat protein food and your body will tell you how much it needs. You don't have to count it. The arbitrary math of nutrition is invented numbers, and we become very overly connected to those numbers and feel like we're failing when we don't hit them. Eating more protein would be great. You don't have to count any of it. The math is arbitrary, and it does not matter that much for fat loss. The fourth thing that doesn't matter that much for fat loss is eating too fast. This came up on my coaching call today multiple times. I think I might be eating too fast. And this is one of those things that we learn along the way. If you eat too fast, then your stomach won't get the fullness signal until it's too late. And there are a few mechanical and biochemical satiety signals that we're trying to trigger when we eat food. And the stomach is one of them. The stomach has stretch receptors that tell us if we have put enough volume in the stomach to stop eating. But really, it's the palate and the brain that are doing the math on the nourishment that you're eating. So it tastes a bite of protein, it tastes a bite of carbohydrate, it's sort of cataloging these things. Your palate is really the number one gatekeeper to your satiety signal, telling you to stop eating this thing. Like, I'm going to stop eating this now. That is an experience that happens at the mouth as the fork is going in. You're like, I'm done eating this. That's your satiety signal that happens at your mouth. If we override the mouth and we eat too fast or eat too many sort of sweet, crunchy foods that aren't satiating, we can now get to the stomach where the stomach starts to fill and sends the sort of stretch receptor, okay, you need to stop eating for real now signal because there's no room in the stomach. You're not going to die. It's not dangerous to stretch your stomach. None of this stuff's going to kill you. The body's trying to keep you alive and surviving. But I will say that having an overfull stomach is not a pleasant feeling. It feels a little bit in the realm of indigestion. It's not. It's just your body kind of work through the sheer volume in the stomach. But does eating too fast override the palate and get you to an overfull stomach? I don't think so, as long as the meals you're putting together are sufficiently satiating grown-up foods. So I'm talking protein, fat, and fiber. And at this point, you already probably heard that. Like protein, fat, and fiber, what does that equate to? What does it look like on a plate? That's meat and vegetables or meat and fruit. That's a plate of human food. Protein and fat in the animal protein, fiber in the veggies and fruit. You get all your micronutrition is all vitamins, minerals, you're good. Protein, fat, and fiber are the satiety-inducing, highly nourishing parts of food. So if you're consuming that, your palate is clocking it and telling you you could put the fork down before you get overfull at the stomach. If you're eating other things, lots of processed food, lots of mushy foods, this is why I really don't like yogurt and protein shakes as a protein source, because it tastes like a milkshake. So your body doesn't even really know from a palate perspective how to catalog it. So if you're not eating foods that are inherently satiating, then you could override the satiety signal at the palate, go to overfullness at stomach. Here's a good example of this is Thanksgiving dinner, which is a meal of like 18 different bites. And so every time you take a bite of something, you're re-exciting your palate. Your palate's having a harder time doing the math on what's coming in. It's a bite of this, it's a bite of that, a bite of this, a bite of that. Thanksgiving dinner, because the food signal is so chaotic at the palate, the stomach gets overfull. You got to undo your pants and sit around for a while. And it's fine. You get over it. Like, quite honestly, Thanksgiving dinner is kind of a healthy, robust meal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we overconsume. And we overconsume because we're exciting the palate. Now, I think eating too fast, as long as the meals are appropriate, you won't run the risk of bypassing the palate's satiety signal. Eating too fast isn't metabolically a problem. It might be digestively a problem, though. If you're not chewing enough, especially if you start to eat more protein, you don't chew it enough. Well, chewing is part of your digestive process. So breaking the food down into particle sizes that the body can deal with. And as you probably know, maybe you do, maybe you don't, protein is digested in the stomach via hydrochloric acid. But first, the protein has to be chewed and broken down so the hydrochloric acid can act on it and really break it down and get rid of it so you don't have any sort of lingering digestion. But if you don't chew your meat enough, then it's going to be harder for the acid to work on that protein. It might go through undigested and just feel kind of bad as it goes through. If you eat too fast and you feel indigestion symptoms, that's digestive. And it would be probably better if you chewed a little more, slowed it down a bit so you can properly digest your food. But metabolically, it's not a problem. It kind of falls into the same category as mindless eating. People are really worried about mindless eating. They'll say, I'm just so busy. I'm shoveling this in the car or standing at the kitchen counter in between Zoom meetings. I'm not eating mindfully enough. And it's like, well, do you have time to eat mindfully and put your fork down between bites like they tell us to do? Because if you can, then it's probably a nice thing to do for your nervous system. Like metabolically, it's kind of neither here nor there, but it's probably a nice thing to slow yourself down just from a general health perspective, if you can. But if you can't, if you're literally back to back to back to back on meetings all day, then what are you supposed to do? You're going to have to shovel the food in the 15 minutes between Zooms. I do this all the time. I'm never eating mindfully because I'm always on Zoom and my calendar is kind of taken from me in a manner of speaking by appointments that show up and I don't have a lot of say in it to a certain extent, as long as I want to remain successful and in business. So I am doing the same thing. I'm scrambling the eggs and shoveling them in, then rushing back to my computer. At least I'm taking this chaotic modern human experience and I'm feeding it appropriately with eggs and meat and poultry and fish and vegetables and fruit. I'm going for human food, robustly nourishing human food in those 15-minute dribbles between Zoom meetings. I'm not reaching for the processed foods and hoping for the best that it staves off my hunger for another hour. I'm trying to handle hunger in the small moments between meetings. And to me, that's the play. If I can't eat mindfully, I'm going to eat mindlessly, but highly nourishing. If I have the time to eat mindfully, you better believe I'm sitting down at the table, turning my phone off, knife and fork, the whole 9 yards. But I just think we have to be realistic. We don't all have time to slow down. I wish we did. I do think slowing down is the solution. But in the meantime, I just want to quell your concerns that eating too fast has no impact metabolically. It's not holding you back from weight loss. As long as the meals you're making are grown-up meals. As long as we're eating like a grown-ass adult and not an unsupervised 8-year-old, we're fine. So that's the fourth. And now here is the fifth thing that doesn't matter that much for fat loss. A glass of wine. This is my personal bias. So, well, everything I say is my personal bias. Hello, welcome to the internet. Right now, there is a very strong anti-alcohol narrative, which is fine because, alcohol is a toxicant, right? When you consume it, your body has to deal with it. It's like, whoa, toxicant on board. Toxicant. The toxicant is a thing that comes in and creates a toxic effect in the body. We bring it in. The body has to deal with it. Your liver has to deal with it. Whatever the toxicant is, your liver has to stop everything and start dealing with that. Metabolically, alcohol is the first thing. If you're consuming a lot of different things, as soon as the alcohol comes in, your body's going to metabolically divert all resources to just getting the alcohol dealt with and out of the system because it's toxic. It's not supposed to be in there. There are lots of things that we bring into our body that are not supposed to be there, like all the chemicals around us in our beauty products. I mean, the acrylic nail dust that we inhale at the nail salon, our laundry detergent, processed foods. We are surrounded by toxicants and the body is constantly processing them. So the body is constantly processing all elements that are toxic. Alcohol is just one of those things, sort of a self-inflicted toxicant. So just so we know, understand that the liver and kidneys are working together at all times to deal with all of the toxic load we get exposed to. And alcohol is one of the many things. So just by virtue of the fact that it's a toxicant doesn't make it bad. We are always exposed to toxicants. Metabolically, alcohol is the first to burn. So if you're theoretically drinking a glass of wine and eating your dinner, your body's going to burn through the alcohol first and put off burning off the dinner until later. The only thing that I struggle with that is that it assumes the body's just burning through fuel. It's going to get rid of, metabolize the alcohol, get it out of your system. You're going to pee it out. Your liver's going to process the alcohol. But that's not putting the kibosh on you burning fuel in your cells. You still will do that. And no one's saying that your dinner was going to get burnt away anyway. It's probably going to go into storage. It's just you're delaying the utilization of that fuel until the alcohol is gone. The point is, metabolically, it's really nothing at all. Calorically, a glass of wine, I don't even know, has 200 calories. Let's say you overpour, because most people at home overpour. Let's call it 300, 250 calories on a glass of wine. So those calories, because caloric intake, energy expenditure, energy balance does matter for weight loss. But if you consume 300 calories of wine, it's not really different than 300 calories of kombucha. It's calories, schmalories. It all comes out in the wash, right? So for some people, their glass of wine is their evening snack. For other people, it's a giant bowl of popcorn or chips. And I think in some cases, which one of those is sort of the more calorically problematic from a weight loss, fat loss perspective? The reason I mentioned that a glass of wine isn't holding you back. I mean, I hear women all the time who say, I'm not much of a drinker. I'll have a glass of wine on Friday or Saturday night. And it's like, that's not the problem. That is not the problem. You keep doing that. It sounds really nice, right? There's this very unproven, untested, incomplete narrative, which is drink alcohol equal belly fat. And it's just not true. There's no mechanism of action there. If you are over-consuming alcohol to the point where it's disrupting your sleep, and maybe you're using it as a coping mechanism. So if we've got these things in play, I'm stressed out, I can't sleep unless I have 2 glasses of wine or 3 glasses of wine, and then the glasses of wine are impacting my sleep. Well, now you have a cascade of stressors, and stress contributes to belly fat. So solve the stress. We're not going to blame the wine. Wine is not a great coping mechanism. Instead of coping with wine, I would say get to the root cause of the stress if at all possible, and try not to disrupt your sleep. If you're drinking to the point where you're disrupting your life and your sleep, then you're having too much. And you already know that. And too much of anything naughty isn't good. But a little bit of something naughty is fine. Naughty, whatever it is, right? Just like you can't just eat creme brulee all day long, even though creme brulee is amazing. You're going to have it once in a while. It's not a big deal. Things done occasionally, like the occasional glass of wine, even if it's to my mind a nightly glass of wine, it's like, well, as long as you're not using it to cope and it's not dramatically impacting your sleep quality, you would know that if you felt sort of tired all day the next day, or your sleep tracker might tell you that. And if it's displacing other snack behaviors, so calorically it comes out in the wash, then there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of confounding factors. That goes with anything, right? Same with a bowl of ice cream. Does this bowl of ice cream push me over the edge calorically so I start gaining weight? Am I coping with this bowl of ice cream? You know what I mean? Like there's a bigger picture stuff, but vilifying the one thing, the ingredient or the one consumable is strange. I think we have to think about all the factors around it. Why are we drinking? How much are we drinking? What does it do to our sleep? But the wine by itself, the glass of wine, I don't think you have to quit doing that. I always think things big picture. Why are you drinking a glass of wine? Oh, I'm out for dinner with my husband. Great. That sounds beautiful. You should have beautiful dinners with your husband. So no notes. Keep doing that. I was out with my friends. We get together every other Friday just to make sure we don't lose touch with each other. Oh my God, social connections with friends. One of the healthiest things we can have. The health benefits of social connections are so tremendous that the potential health setback of a glass of wine is obliterated in the math on that. But is my relationship with alcohol problematic? Is my relationship with ice cream problematic? Is my relationship with coffee problematic? Would it behoove me to tap the brakes on any one of these things? Online shopping, whatever it is. It's probably a good personal development exercise to reflect on all of these things that we maybe do a little bit too much of. Your glass of wine doesn't matter that much for fat loss. Your body doesn't taste the wine and say, this girl is being so naughty right now. I'm going to punish her by stalling fat loss. No, these are just sugar, carbohydrate, calories that come in and alcohol, and the body deals with it the way it deals with it. It deals with the toxicant of alcohol the same way it deals with the toxicant of like road pollution or, tap water. It's just the same. Your body processing toxicants all day long isn't a problem. It's how your body works. But do you understand your relationship with that? And maybe what it does for your appetite and your sleep and your snack urges. Because there are downstream effects that happen if we're maybe over-consuming alcohol or have a problematic relationship with it. But it by itself is not that much of a factor for fat loss. So 5 things that don't matter that much for fat loss, aka majoring in the minors, are sugar, water, arbitrary numbers of protein grams, eating too fast or eating mindlessly, and having a glass of wine. The end.